Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hope. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors. Today, I have my new friend, Addie, on here. How are you today, Addie?
I'm great, Tammy. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you on here with me. And actually, Addie's right here in Arizona. So we're both enjoying the sunshine today for sure. It's beautiful out today.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. So just to let everybody know, Hope, helping other people evolve. My podcast and YouTube channel is just my way of trying to help people that are struggling to get to a strength. I feel like so many people in this world struggle alone. They feel like they're all alone, laying in their house, sitting on their couch. But when we hear a story of somebody that unfortunately went through a struggle, but has gotten to a strength, then that might inspire you to get out of bed that day, to know that you're not alone in your struggles. So as many of you know, I interview all kinds of people that have been through struggles, that have gotten to a strength, whether it's addiction, weight loss, death, depression, just accidents, all kinds of things. And I just enjoy hearing the stories. So a friend of mine, Tina, that I just recently met too, I was explaining a little bit to Tina about Hope, Addie, and she said, oh my gosh, you got to meet my friend Addie. She's got an amazing story. She's got a podcast. So I reached out to Addie, and here we are. So I guess, Addie, if you just want to go a little bit into who you are and what your mission is and what you're doing and how you got there, and we can just go from there.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm here on your podcast because I identify with your mission and I love it so much, because when I started telling my story, it was from the space, if I can inspire one more person to get up like I got up this last time, that was really the time that I feel like I got to the culmination of my goal, then I will have served my purpose,
Yeah.
So I love that you're doing this and sharing stories. And my story is around weight loss, which was the goal I've sought my entire life for a lot of reasons. One big one being my dad was morbidly obese, over 800 pounds, and died very young. And it was always like such a deep part of it. Like I was always seeking this weight loss, and I had hit a point in my life where I was over 300 pounds, and I was successful in so many areas, you guys. Like I had a great job, like over 6 figures. I had my house on the beach in Hawaii. I had all the things we're taught to want and desire, the family, the happiness, the friends, and here happiness wasn't there. And feeling like I should have so much gratitude. I have all of these things, and why am I feeling this way? And then you feel bad because you have so much, and there's people that don't, and all of those things. And meanwhile, my soul's in there banging on the walls like, let me out. And I didn't know any of this, right? And so my mom was dying of cancer. She was in stage 4 cancer, and I got the call, and I was in Hawaii and decided to move back to Arizona. And I had left my corporate job then. They created a job here. I'm kind of like making a long story short here, but it kind of goes into my whole mission.
Right.
So, so I moved back to Arizona, and my youngest child's across the ocean. I start this new stressful job over here in a position that with the same company, that as I was helping my mom with cancer, driving back and forth to chemo, radiation, all of that. Anyone that's dealt with a family member going through that, right? Like Tammy, like keeping track of the doctor's appointments and medications alone, like her husband, like between the two of us, we were like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
So I have all of this outside stress coming in, and I'm just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I was up over 300 pounds at some point in 2017. I had always been overweight. This had always been the thing that I was just seeking. I was like a Weight Watcher member for life, like just kind of always seeking, but never really understood how to manage my emotions, my stress, things I know now that had someone came and told me 10 years ago, of course, I probably wouldn't have been ready for. But now I'm here to share my story to help other people that might be ready. Because I have, I had the moment of reckoning that I was like, it's like, knock, 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 Ad, time to get up. Like I hit that wall, that ball of misery, and I started seeking. And found meditation, and meditation was the foundation and the difference in my weight loss quest this time. And that's what I got up for. I didn't know what else to get up for. Here I should have been happy. I had all the things. The only thing I could think I didn't have, other than my mom dying of cancer, my kid across the ocean, but like I had like pretty overall, like a great life,
Right.
and so it was like, okay, it must be this weight. And so I got up that last time, and the universe just kept bringing meditation in my newsfeed. And I went and I learned, and then I found life coaching, and I found all the mind work, and, just really went from there on this journey of self-discovery. And, so
Wow.
there we go. And I have a whole mission beyond that, but I should probably let you ask me a question or something now.
Well, geez, I mean, it's incredible to me. You said that your father weighed 800 pounds. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he's 6'8", we're not small people. We're,
Right.
I'm 5'9". My brothers are all tall, but yeah, I mean, he was like extremely, morbidly obese, and bedridden, like toward the end. And I just watched him struggle and really eat himself to death. And it was something that I just really was ingrained in me that I didn't want to be, and so when I saw myself this 300 pounds in bed, like I went home and from work, and I was so stressed, and I put on Game of Thrones. I had not started Game of Thrones. And if you have not started, don't start unless you have a month, right? Because you will get lost. So I started Game of Thrones. I ordered Postmate, takeout, and I just sat there and I like zoned out, like eating my emotions, eating the stress that was going on outside of me that was coming in, that I didn't know how to listen to that voice within me.
Yeah.
And I saw my dad and myself that,
Yeah. And here's the thing that I can relate with that, which is it's kind of, I always say amazing that we can have this conversation like that, because so at 34 years old, my father died from alcoholism. Very sick, 90 pounds, just really sick. I watched him, the same thing, like struggle. And that, 13 years old, I wrote this poem. I'm not going to be an alcoholic. I'm not going to be like my dad. And here I was at 39 years old, shaking, drinking, ready almost to die myself, weighing 85 pounds. And I did the same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm my dad. That's who I wasn't going to be. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
people will say that too. They'll be like, well, they see how their parents were and then they ended up like that. People don't realize that I don't know if it's the way that, since we were like brought up like that, even though we said we're not going to do that, it's just kind of embedded in us. I feel like until we have that awakening, like, wait a minute, I said this wasn't going to happen to me, and here I am,
Yeah. Well, and I think,
both had that.
I think there's a lot of people out there that are 300 pounds that don't have an 800-pound father, right?
Sure.
That, I mean, there's, and that are alcoholics and don't have an alcoholic father. I think that's, kind of like, that's our story. And that's a big thing about what I do too, is like, as women, especially, like releasing the judgment of self and of others, and like being able to see that compassion. When I had that compassion for my father, it was like this full forgiveness of him, of myself. I mean, to be clear, I was not morbidly obese, right? Like I wasn't like, but I could see, all of a sudden it was this overwhelming sense of like compassion and love and understanding that I think I hadn't had before. And my thought, Tammy, was, you know what, I'm getting up, and I got up for my girls, but I stayed up for me and putting me first. But I got up because I didn't want my girls to not want to be like me. Like I didn't want to be like my dad. I want them to want to be like me.
Right.
Like I don't want them to run from my example. I want them to follow my example and how I'm living my best life, and even making all the money in the world and living in the best house and providing the best things wasn't like that great example. So, and yes, our situation's very similar. And I don't hear that a lot, actually, like, about the fathers like that, like, and, but I think very common, especially with alcohol, so much judgment wrapped up in that. Right. And you could get me started on that, because I slayed I call it the booze habit. but
Mhm.
I wasn't, like, I think there's so much BS around it. First of all, it's not hereditary. There's no science
Right.
around that at all.
Right.
Like it's like, okay, get me off that topic because
Yeah,
that's like a
no,
whole
no,
other
I agree with that. There's so much with all of that, right? I would
and
just,
shame and guilt and
yes,
judgment, and where it can just be a habit. And to speak to your point earlier about that, yeah, nobody knows how to deal with their emotions. This
right,
is why, like, I can deal with it. We're not taught this.
right,
Nobody is. So all those people whipping out judgment about, oh, couldn't she look at her father? Let me see how you're managing your emotions, right? Like,
exactly.
so I don't know. We just all like do it in a different way. We overeat, we over Netflix, we over Facebook scroll, we
Yes,
over drink, we over whatever,
yes.
like,
Yes, it's so funny that we're saying this right now because yesterday I interviewed his name is Peyton Rose and he lives in Colorado and he said the same thing about the habit part of it, which is it's you know what I guess I never really looked at it in that aspect. I've always known that it's not so many people are like, I mean, that's a whole different podcast, I guess, but like you said, like, well, it's generational and it's hereditary and it's in my blood. And no, it's not. I
it's
mean, you might,
not. Science
well,
has disputed that. Like,
right,
oh,
right,
it's completely disputed now.
right.
And the I do a lot with habit coaching and habit
Okay,
teaching. I'm somewhat of a habit nut, like a
okay.
little bit. Like I have
Mhm.
this whole habit stacking thing, and here's how we build our habits. And really understanding habits is so key. 90% of what we do, 95% of you is programmed by the time you're 35.
Mm.
So when you're our age now, we're like midlife and we're trying to reverse these habits, how we've taught ourselves to deal with emotions. Yeah, there's going to be some like moments of mud in there. It's
Yes,
uncomfortable. Your brain doesn't like it. Your brain is trained to be efficient, to be like, oh, that dopamine hit feels good. There's no bigger dope hit than, okay, first heroin, then nicotine, then alcohol,
right,
right? Like you're
right.
getting that reward quick to the brain. I get home from work, I pour the glass of wine,
Ah,
right?
yeah.
Like there's like that. And so you're just training that brain, and that's all it is. So if you can learn to untrain your brain and retrain it in another manner, done. Bada bing,
Yeah,
bada boom,
yeah.
right? And when you can understand that and you can see that, then you can take that knowledge, mirror it to the experience, and now you're wise. Now you got the wisdom, right?
Wow.
Anyhow, don't get me started on
No,
habits,
no,
Tammy,
no,
or
that's awesome. No,
alcohol.
we
All
could have
right.
a whole nother podcast about habits. We'll do that another day. So here's the thing. So you're weighing like 300 pounds, you said, and then did you say you were around like 260 when you decided to like go live with it? Like, here I am, this is me, but this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. So I had created this future self alter ego. I started doing a lot of future self vision work and dreaming big. And I'd always been a big dreamer, but like hadn't really, I don't gotten into really how to do it. So I started doing some future self, and I couldn't quite envision myself like in my body now, right? 120 pounds less. And I was like, what would that person look like? And so I named her Slayer, right? And she had a sword and everything and hot leather pants, Tammy. I had the whole get up. It's like, it's
Nice.
brilliant. And
Nice.
so I was like, what would Slayer do if she knew for sure? And this is what you do when you know for sure you're going to be thin, sober, healthy. Like when you truly believe that that's going to happen, what would you do now? And I said, well, I would go tell the world how I'm doing it right now because I'm so sure I'm going to do it. I want them to see while I'm in the process. So I
Mm.
went live on my Facebook page, my personal page at the time, and I said, look, you guys know I've been fighting weight my whole life. You've seen it with my family. I told all my friends, everyone, and I said, and I'm going to lose this weight and I'm going to show you guys how I'm doing it. And so I just started doing live videos. I started just like I was going to get up no matter what, over and over again. And before I found meditation, actually, I had sought weight loss surgery
Okay.
because I was just over. I was like I'm like, I can't do this. Someone fix me, whatever. And you had to wait 6 months. So I never got the surgery, but I was like, I totally understand people that get to the point because I thought, oh, someone just go in there and fix it because this is going to take care of this.
Right.
So anyhow, the universe took me on this whole other path inside. There's a reason I told you that about the surgery,
Surgery
but
because you were making sure that you got up and just did it?
Yeah. It was like,
Like,
so those were like my little nuggets on the way. Thank you. Yeah. Because like, I was just going to seek the end of this because I had already done like every healthy diet on the planet. Right. And
right.
like, while I still investigate those things, it's not why I'm 120 pounds less now. It's like from taking that time for me, the stillness inside, and meditation, my journaling, like all of these habits I've built slowly, one small habit at a time,
Mm.
and added them in. And I am a totally different person than I was 4 years ago.
Wow.
Like completely different person. I don't respond to things the same way. I don't have the same urges. I don't have the same reactions. It's really amazing. I mean, I'm still Addie, but I'm
Right.
Addie.
Right.
Right? I'm lighting
Yeah.
this bitch up now,
Yeah.
Oh, can I say that?
You can say that.
Okay, all right. We didn't discuss that ahead of
Yeah,
time.
no, you
It's
can say
good.
that. Yeah,
You
we
never
didn't
know what's
discuss
gonna.
that ahead of time. It's funny that you said that because
Yeah.
I interviewed my bonus daughter, my son's half sister, a few weeks ago, and she said the F word, and she was like, "Oh," and I was like, "It's okay, Heather. It's okay, right?" So then she
Yeah.
said it like in 2 sentences 10 times, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, this one's explicit language." But yeah, but no, I love my podcast to be real and raw, so that's fine. But so when you started that, now were you still working in corporate America at that time?
Yeah, I didn't leave. I wanted to leave sooner than I did because I thought my misery was from my job, right? I thought
Okay.
it was all this stress from the job. And I met with my spirit guides actually in the first time, and they told me, you need to build the runway. And I was pissed, Tammy. I was like
Right.
mad because I just wanted to like leave. I was ready to throw my keys at the wall. That's what preceded the ball of misery was the job. I just turned the computer off and I went home. I was like, F it, right? Like, so anyhow, it was what was I answering?
We were answering about quitting corporate America.
Oh, quitting corporate America. Yeah, that I had to build the runway.
Yeah.
So
okay.
that I had to like go, that I needed to build the runway still. And I knew in my gut that that was the right advice I was given, but I didn't want it to be because I know I can leap in a net loop here. I left in the middle of the night when I was 19 and moved to Phoenix, right? And told my mom I was doing laundry or whatever, and I packed my family from here in a month and moved to Hawaii, and I moved back here in 3 weeks. So I've always just like left and known I'd be okay.
Right.
But the universe was like, hey, what if you actually build the foundation? And I'm so happy I did because I found that peace and happiness while I was in that job that I thought was the cause of my misery. And it wasn't. It was all of this in here inside my head, right? Like all my thoughts and how I was handling things. And it really taught me a lot that I needed to know before I became an entrepreneur and before I was out here really creating from my my own life and living my dreams and being able to do so purely from my heart and with giving as much as I can to the world. If I didn't have the skills that I built in that time before I left corporate America, I probably wouldn't be sitting here now. And I've been doing Namaslayer, which is my company, for oh gosh, when I started the Me First Sisterhood in 2019, what is this, 2022? So it's been a few years, but I left right before the pandemic. And this is how I know Tina, right? Like we had worked together and I had decided, how can I be the best mom ever across the ocean? Because my health is better here in Arizona. And I knew I couldn't go back to Hawaii after feeling good and feeling healthy again. It was part of the package, And so I was like, how can I be the coolest mom, best mom ever across the ocean and really build this bond? I was like, I'll be adventure mom. So when Millie comes here, that we can take off, I can work from wherever, I'll get an RV. Why not? Right. I sold everything when I left Hawaii. That sounds really cool. So then I just start creating this future vision. I'll get an RV and I would call my group, and I still call them the witches and bitches. Right. I'm like, I'll go around and I'll slay you WMBs around the country and we'll have workshops and all of this stuff. So I end up getting this RV and I'm like watching myself. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm actually doing this. Right. I'm actually going to get an RV and travel the country and run this business and lead these women, and just like, how fun is that? Who does that? And I'm like, I'm doing that. That's crazy. And I'm like, I'm going to be the coolest mom ever. Right. So of course I am. Right. I'm the coolest mom ever. Of course. Right. So I get the RV, and then my idea is to go do workshops, and I'm already leading the sisterhood. I have the private group, and I'm doing some coaching and things like that. And I get the RV, and then the pandemic hits.
Right.
I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I'm not doing workshops. Right. And so that shifted, like a lot of people, right? It shifted my entire basis of what I was going to do to now I'm running online meetings and workshops, and, and more courses and things like that. And what does that look like? And the podcast came out of that, like it's the pandemic just changed so many things for us. And I think in good ways too,
Sure.
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah.
So tell everybody the name of your podcast.
Heart Sing podcast.
Okay.
So like, you're going to find your heart sing, right? And about weight loss, meditation, finding your soul magic. I talk about habits a lot, all that good stuff, a lot of soul discovery, limbs of yoga. It's really my story in a podcast as I'm learning. It's kind of how I shared my story, is what I'm learning is what I share. And it's all just me. So if you want to hear more, you can have a listen for sure.
Well, is that on Apple and Spotify and everything?
Everywhere. Yeah. Anywhere you can listen.
Anywhere you can find a podcast. That's like
anywhere you can find it. Yeah.
Sometimes I found out mine was on Audible, and I didn't even know it was on Audible. Somebody sent me a link, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that was on Audible.
I know. I just saw mine on there the other day too. And it wasn't like when I originally, anyhow, that's like shop talk, but I was surprised too. I was like, oh, that used to not be one. And they just must have started importing or something, but I noticed that too. Yeah.
So, now you say that you're also a life coach. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I do. I am a weight loss. I like to say I'm a weight loss guide, because typically coaches will kind of, absorb more and have your feedback. I bring my experience and I bring it to the table and share with my clients, and really help them, move the marker as they work toward that goal. But I'm also, I share a lot to try to help them the best I can. So I don't have a whole lot of private clients. They have to really hunt me down. You can hunt me down if you want to. I mean, I love it, but I do a lot of group creation, and I teach group primordial sound meditation. I'm certified through the Chopra Center with Deepak Chopra. So I teach a mantra-based meditation, which helps people, gives you a focal point to really start learning your meditation practice. And it's what instigated my whole transformation. I'm just so passionate about, because I've also seen it help the other sisters in my group also lose weight and stay centered. And really, we work to put ourselves first, which is, not what we're taught to do. Right. Sure. Everybody else first. So everyone's got so much like guilt and shame, and like there's so many things worked up in that. So we're just a group of women that come together to rise up each day and work to put ourselves first, one small action at a time, one small habit at a time. A lot of us met through weight loss, but we have all different goals, and people are working toward creating businesses and coaching and podcasts. And it's just so much fun. And it's, I can't even explain to you like how my heart is singing.
Sign me up.
Oh yeah, come on. You're more than welcome.
Yes.
Listen, if anyone even goes, like I am in the midst of redefining everything, because I finally have the foundation built. I had created a guide. So I have a full planner. I have a whole system. I have courses. I have tons of content. And Tammy, it was almost like too much. So I found this new software that's like a Google for all my content. And so if you come in the group that you're not feeling lost, that you want to know more about habits, you can go there. Anyhow, this doesn't need to be a whole sales pitch about that, but
No, but I like to hear
it's,
about it, and other people probably too. So
yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I'll keep going because
keep
I am
going,
like
keep
so
going.
excited and passionate about this.
No, you
So
keep going.
you can't even find my website right now is the point of the story, because
Oh.
I'm building it. That's why when you said, but I knew you were moving, so I wanted to do your podcast with you before, like you were in the midst of that. And I was like, so I'm in like the tech vortex right now, but when I come out the other side, it's going to be like, you'll be able to come in and go through the process where you'll understand more about habits, how the mind works, how to take this knowledge, because that's what I was like, okay, this is great. I had to put all this stuff together. But what I was seeing was I was overwhelming people, because I tend to take information, I process it, I learn, and I like tell everyone, and everyone's like, oh my God, right? Like,
right.
If you can't tell, Tammy, I'm a lot. That was like one of my shadows, right? Like I've always been a lot. So, and it's got to be fun. Like I don't do it unless it's fun anymore. Like period. Like it's got to be fun. So we have fun and we show up, and our big thing is you step away from perfect, because we're all like, we're trained in that perfectionism from the time we pop out practically, right? Like you're wrong. You got to be perfect. Do it just this way. And we're like, oh, no. The less perfect you are, like, just keep showing up. You just keep getting up over and over, because you never know when it's going to be your 120 pounds, right? You don't know when that nugget is going to be for you.
Yes.
That makes the difference, you know?
So when you say that, I have a tattoo here. It says perfectly imperfect for a reason.
Yes. Yes. I love that. You know, and in fact, I listened to your podcast about boundaries that you just did the other day. And I thought, oh my God, she would love the me first. Like it was like, that's what it is, right? Like the selfishness and us as, and sorry guys, you too, but like, especially as women, like we were modeled, our moms modeled, like like we were modeled that you throw yourself on the sword for the family, right? Like you give up everything for your family. And it's not that we don't want our children to grow and be these fantastic beings, but I can tell you this 100%. When I started saying me first, me, they have shown even more, right? Like, and they're like, they want to be like me now, right? And before, I guarantee you, they were thinking about me like I was thinking about my dad. Okay, whatever mom's doing, I don't want to be like her. Now they're like, I want to be like her, right? How can I be like mom? Who am I going to call when I really need to know something? And so, but overcoming that, because it looked selfish for me to stay here and take care of myself and not, can you imagine leaving like your youngest child across the ocean? This was a lot that I dealt with, right? That was a lot of the stress I was going through about how could I do that? And I started asking myself, what if all these preconceived notions I have about what family looks like, about what a good mom looks like, what if it's all BS? What if it's what I make it look like? What if I can be a better mom across the ocean than I could ever be right there? Because I'm showing her how to live life. I am being that example of who I want her to be, of who I want her to grow up and become, the woman that goes out there and adventures for herself and seeks for herself and disputes all things like society's been trying to tell her, you know? And then I'm going to try to undo before she gets there and teach her how to process emotions.
Right. How old is
she? She's 12.
Oh, she's young.
Yeah, she's young. Yes.
Oh,
and so she was 8 when I came back from when my mom was, I wouldn't have left if my mom wasn't dying. Right. So that never would have happened. So I look back now and I'm like, look at the universe. Right. And I needed to be here for my oldest daughter. She was going through some things. She's 27 now. And she was back here. And I just look back now, you know how you look back and it's like the whole path was so clear. My dad, my mom, my kids, like I look, everything has led me to this moment to do exactly what I'm doing, to lead this sisterhood of badass, you know, amazing female warriors, you know, and I know I'm trying to keep it sort of clean, you know what I mean? Like, that could be an issue sometimes on the Slayer show. I know I try to, on my podcast, I'm like, I'm not gonna edit that one. Hopefully they won't notice, you know? But you know, like, it's just, and I'm just so passionate that I'm like, I want to be every woman's believing mirror in all of America. Like, we got this, you know, we can do
Yeah.
whatever we want to do, whatever we desire to do. And all it takes is, you know, my tagline is believe, become, be. You know, we
Like
believe, we
it.
become through our habits. And because we are, remember, 95% of our habits,
Mhm.
95% of what's programmed into us, we are.
Yeah.
So if you're not focused on changing that on a neurological level, then you stay in the old patterns and then you repeat the same old life. And that's why it feels so hard to stop drinking, stop eating, stop Netflixing, right?
Yes. Yes. It's just I always talk about, like, however anybody believes. I always say this in my podcast: universe, God, whatever it is that you believe. But just yesterday, when I was talking to Peyton, and he talked about the habits. So for you to talk about that again today, and he said, like, so he runs now. He was in a terrible car accident and he runs. He's like, it's not that I walked outside and I started running. I had to develop a habit. And my habit was to put my shoes in front of the
Yes.
door. So when I walked down the stairs, I saw those shoes. I knew I put them on, and then I would head out the door. So, and like he said, like you said too, you know, so for 3 days, just say for 3 days, I'm not going to hit snooze, and take those little steps. But once you start those little steps, then it becomes the new habit, right? And the new
Yep.
way of life. And when you talked about too, the other thing that you talked about that I talk about a lot is definitely mindset. You know, we let those voices, we let that voice get in there. And I said this yesterday, and I'm gonna say it again because it's really rained this week for some reason. But a few years ago, I was getting ready to write my book, and my friend said, well, why haven't you started writing it? And I said, well, there's that little voice of the devil or whoever in my ear saying, what makes you think you're equipped to write a book? So I would stop. And he said, well, the problem is that voice that you're hearing, you're allowing it to stop you. And I was like, oh, that's so powerful. And then right after that, I read The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. I don't know if you've ever read that book or not, but, and I was like, oh yeah, it's all that voice. But that's what happens is, and with you now, I don't know a lot about meditation. I know I try to do it, but I'm that ding, ding, ADD. Here I am, you know, I'm there, I'm here.
Look, I heard that, and I want to share this with you. Like, thoughts are there. They're a process in meditation. We're human. They're going to be a part of the experience. And I think your friend that said it about
Yeah.
putting it on the log and letting it float, that was beautiful. Some people use clouds and stuff like that. And this is why I teach a mantra-based meditation, and why I think it works so well for me, because it gives you that focal point. That's what the mantra is.
Okay.
And it's a vibration that sings with your body, you know? And so, like, primordial sound meditation that I teach is like a 5,000-year-old tradition from the Vedic tradition, from Indian spirituality. It's not a religion, right? Like, people get religion and spirituality confused, and they're different, you guys. So you can be religious and spiritual. You can also be religious and not spiritual. Right? Like, there's plenty of people like that. But the spiritual journey is the journey inside of you. And so the mantra resonates with your body. It's a special vibration that is coded for you. It's based on the mantras we provide in primordial sound meditation is based on Vedic astrology. So it's the time you were born and came into the planets, the sounds of the universe. And so it's just a really beautiful thing. And so you focus on this mantra as you settle in, and thoughts are going to come in, and you see them and you return back to your mantra easily. But there's all different kinds of meditation, right? So you can do a guided meditation. I was so passionate about this mantra base because it was like so immediate for me. And I was so stressed out. I was like, okay, I need some Xanax or something, man. Like, I was at the point where I just didn't know. I knew I couldn't keep drinking like that, but I didn't want drugs. Like, you know, like, what was I going to do? And so I was like, sure, sign me up. And within 2 weeks, my daughter looks at me and she's like, Mom, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because you're like a different person. And it sounds like you're experiencing the pleasure of meditation and the benefits of the stress reduction, and how, I mean, you guys, like, meditation is the antidote to stress. Stress is the number one cause of illness and disease in the US. Like you were saying this in your podcast, right? That all stress, the chronic disease in your body comes from stress. We harbor this in our body. Meditation is the antidote to stress. It's scientifically proven. When you are stressed, when you go into fight or flight, your heart rate increases, your blood pressure increases, you start sweating, you start palpitating, you like have this physical reaction. And on some level, whether it's your boss yelling at you, like a small fight with your husband, you don't even realize that you're having this fight or flight response in your body. When you go into a practice of meditation, it reverses this response and it takes your body back to a state of homeostasis. And this is why with weight loss, with stopping a habit like drinking, I have a lot of people that like, we're trained. The marketing is smart, right? They're trying to train us. Those housewives get home and they pop open the bottle of wine and they're all skinny and beautiful. And this is glamorous, darling, right? Like cigarettes were back in the 80s, right? Let's all get our Capris and, you know, like hang out. We all had to kick that habit too, right? Like that was a B. So, you know, we're marketed to all these things. But if you come home and you break that habit, we're like your friend Pete now, right? That's got the tennis shoes out there. You come home, you have your meditation corner. You're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go meditate. And then if you still want to go like have that glass of wine or whatever, I'm not going to reward myself with it, but I'm going to first take care of this for myself. I'm going to first show myself I'm important and go meditate. And it's a practice of training that brain. And as you start to do that, when you get done meditating, you're like, I don't even want it now. You know, because your body isn't in that fight or flight. And so when you don't have the bottle sitting there, like and we talk about habits, we talk about cues in the environment. Your friend Pete with the shoes out, you know, I do this every night. I set up my planner and my journal. I have my coffee ready. I have this whole process and I teach habit stacks. And so we talk about connecting one habit to another because neurologically it helps you. I know I could talk forever. Neurologically, it helps you build and connect your habits together. And so setting up your cues in your environment, that thing you see, whether it's tripping over your tennis shoes to go run or setting your journal out, getting something you really look forward to doing. So you crave it, you know, that's the next step in the process. And then what's your response? And then you can troubleshoot it, all of these things. But
awesome.
A lot of fun.
So congratulations on your weight loss journey. I mean, that's amazing. Now, do you do a lot of hiking or things like that or?
I hike. It was fun. When I set out this time, I was like, it's gotta be fun. It's gotta be easy. And I'm an athlete, right? Like I grew up as an all state softball, volleyball, swimming, like hardcore athlete. So it was like, anytime I went to do something, it was like, I had to go like all out or nothing. Right. So this time I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk and listen to a podcast and let it be easy. And that's all I would do. I'd hike this little mountain that looks like a big one, but it looks really small. And I do my live videos from up there and everyone's think I'm hiking this big mountain every morning. And it was like, damn, it was like this little walk, you know? And so I love the mountain. I like to say the mountain saved my life. Like it was like, I was like, you know what? I could go to happy hour with my friends, or I could go home and go to bed and wake up and be on the mountain at sunrise and put my feet in the earth and meditate. Oh, and that started to sound better than happy hour. And that's when I knew I was really changing who I was, you know, but it comes from finding things you like too, you know?
Sure.
So I love the mountains here and the hiking is beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful here. Beautiful for sure. Way different than Michigan.
Yeah, which is also beautiful in the summer.
You were close. You were a little bit further north than I was, or maybe west than I was. I'm like right at the Michigan-Ohio border, like Toledo.
Yeah.
Detroit. That's where I was at. So
well, I spent my summers up in like Traverse City area, went to summer camp up there. So it was like beautiful. And fall was beautiful. I went back, not last summer, the summer before. Last summer I did the Pacific Northwest, but I went and I did Michigan for the summer and the fall. And it was like, oh, it's so beautiful. And then the leaves fell and I was like, Oh my
That's
gosh,
a
I better
good
get
one to
out of
know.
here. I better get out of
Peace
here.
out. I gotta go.
I know, because I'm out. Oh my God, I forgot about snow. It's coming. It's getting cold. My pipes are gonna freeze. I'm hitting the
Right.
road
Yeah.
back to Arizona. So, now I'm like wintering here, but I think I'll probably do like another year of adventure mom and like probably do some bricks and mortar again, keep the
Awesome.
RV for adventure. But yeah.
Yeah, that's
Been a lot
awesome.
of fun.
I appreciate you coming on here tonight and chatting with me. It's been so fun. So what is it? Me First Sisterhood? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, well, and when the website's up, they can just go to namaslayer.com is probably the easiest way. If
Okay.
anyone needs something, you can't find the website, slayer@namaslayer.com. You can email me. I
Okay.
should have the website up hopefully shortly, but I didn't mean to crash the whole thing, but I
Yeah,
did. That's what
it
happens when
happened.
you're doing your own tech. And Heart Sing podcast, just check me out there and I'll have all my links and stuff in
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
So
We'll check you out there. So
yeah, I really
thank
appreciate
you
it,
so
Tammy.
much. I can't wait to talk to you again. And we're definitely going to, we're definitely going to talk. So, so thank you again. And everybody, thank you so much for jumping on Hope. I hope everybody has an amazing day, evening, and I can't wait for our next podcast. Addie, you have a great night. Okay.
All right, you too, Tammy.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much.